Defensively, first half, man, was as good as you possibly could have asked for. I'm trying to see here if I can split this thing up by half. I don't know if I'm able to. I'm on the StatCap broadcast or the stat broadcast or whatever. But look, man, three points allowed in the first half, and those only happen because of a penalty at the end, which on that penalty thing, do I think it was roughing the passer? No. Does it ultimately matter? Also, no, because of the helmet coming off penalty, which is a stupid penalty. I don't think, you just expect a guy to stop playing football, but ultimately, whether they called roughing the passer or whether they enforced the penalty for, I think it was Whitson's helmet coming off. I mean, there's nothing you can do there. It was going to be 15 yards. The guy made his kick. That's just sort of bad luck. First half defense, man, was outstanding, though. Rallying to the ball carrier. Kelly Jones, Diego Brumfield, Kelly Jones especially stepped up big time dealing with Jordan Tyson and keeping him covered. Like Jordan Tyson on the day, and I think he got some things going in the second. He ended up 6 catches for 68 yards when it was all said and done. Targeted 10 times. But, man, there were several times they just had him locked up, and there wasn't anything there. They were able to get pass rush. State in this game, as I switch over to defensive stats, it's only 2 sacks, but Deontay Anderson makes a big-time play. Will Whitson was fantastic again with a sack and a comparative tackle for loss, which, did all that in the first half. He didn't play the second half. As we'll get to that in just a second. But, 9 tackles from Drawn Manning, 9 from Nick Mitchell, who made the game-sealing play when it was all said and done. 6 tackles for loss in this game, and I felt like, again, most of those came in the first half. They were swarming, and they were shutting down the run game pretty effectively throughout the first half. Like Arizona State could not get the ground game going. They had Sam Leavitt in hell. That dude, the atmosphere got to him, and I talked about this coming in. Leavitt, for as talented as he is and for as many great plays as he is, it's kind of a deal where there's 2 factors to his game. He's going to throw to Jordan Tyson, and he's going to scramble and get outside the pocket and try to create there. If you don't let him throw to Jordan Tyson and force him to have to try to throw to literally anyone else, and you don't let him get out of the pocket and run around, he can't play. Now, very few teams can effectively take away those 2 factors because it's tough to deal with a big-time receiver like Tyson, who's going to be one of the top receivers taken in the draft, while also containing a dual-threat quarterback who's as good of a runner as Sam Leavitt is. That's tough to deal with. Mississippi State did it pretty well. Now, Leavitt was able to get some more scrambles going than when you would have liked to have seen, but you were putting them in so many long yardage situations in the first half, it didn't matter. Like, the defense was getting after it in that first half, time and time again, even when the offense was stalling. Like, that was as good of a defensive effort as we've seen from the Bulldogs in a long, long time, especially when you consider the quality of the opponent. Kind of a different story in the second half. Very different story. Now, part of this is, Will Whitson goes down, and I guess we'll find out. I'm sure I haven't checked any post-game comments. We'll see what Levy has to say about injuries and what the deal is there. But I'm sure that's a big part of it. But I would hope losing Whitson was not the one thing that I guess I should say no. I hope losing Will Whitson is the one thing that caused the defensive line to struggle the way it did in the second half, because that's a much better outcome than it was just like, man, they just started getting whipped. Because, man, once Arizona State decided, we're just going to line up in under center and just start handing the football off inside zone over and over and over again, they lit up Mississippi State. Kanye Udo in this game, 23 carries for 105 yards, 18 for 110 for Relief Brown. Overall in the day, 51 for 251 for the Sun Devils, and with most of that coming in the second half. Second half defense just got bullied. Yeah, like that's putting it lightly. They were just getting blown off the line of scrimmage. And last year when that was happening, it was really easy to say, well, 1, it's Cam Scattaboo, but 2, what did everybody talk about? 3-man front. They kept playing with a 3-man front, kept playing with a light box. Like, of course you got run all over. They weren't doing that tonight. They did a couple 3-down looks in the first half, which, of course, very funny. Like the first time they did it, Arizona State got a nice run. There were missed tackles. It's not because of the three-man front, but I know it's hard to continue. I'm going to convince people at some point playing, three-man front's not the problem. But regardless, they didn't do it in the second half. It was 4-down linemen, often with 5 or 6 guys up in the line of scrimmage, and they were playing with 8 guys in the box. They were doing everything in their power. Like they were daring Arizona State to throw the ball, and Arizona State didn't care. Arizona State kept handing it off and getting 4, 5, 6 yards of carry, if not more. And every time it looked like you had them stuffed, oh, here comes the offensive line to just push them ahead for another 3 yards. It was as demoralizing as it might have been more demoralizing than some of the run defense we saw last year, honestly. And I only say that because it started to get some expectations for this unit of it being better. I can't give you an answer for why that happened. Like, is it as simple as Will Whitson going down? I don't know. And I think Dre Bledsoe looked like he got knocked up too. That's funny. Dre Bledsoe looked like he got banged up too there. But I don't know if he came back in the game or anything like that. But, man, I couldn't really tell you what happened. I don't know if they got gassed. I don't know if it was a case of like, look, man, we can give you 5, 6 good drives, but that's going to be about it. I don't know. But it got rough in the second half. I will say, though, as I mentioned earlier, though, when they had to step up, when it was all said and done, you got a goal line stand to keep the game alive and give yourself a chance. They held strong and forced a field goal. When when the game was on the line, they held strong. And then I know the game is effectively over once State scored the touchdown, but there's still 30 seconds on the clock to go out and then immediately disrupt Levin and get an interception. They rose to that occasion too. I know it was an ugly second half for the defense, but I think Coleman Hutzler's unit, at this point, you have to feel good. They're easily far better than they were a season ago. And for as much as that didn't look like it was the case in the second half, they still delivered some big moments, which is more than could be said a season ago. And I will also say this. I am willing to see like more games and be like, okay, was this just a weird fluky half? Or is this type of case like if the offense continues to stall out, they're going to have a hard time? I don't know. I'd be curious to see what the defensive effort would have looked like if you had consistent offense throughout the game, if that changes things at all. So I'm not going to draw conclusions that the defense isn't really that much better just off the second half today. As ugly as that second half was, as much as it concerns me that some of these teams are going to be able to line up and just run the football down Mississippi State's throats, and especially if Will Whitson is hurt for a substantial period of time, we'll find out. But overall, I think you should feel encouraged. You held them to 20 points. You held them to 20 points. You stepped up when you absolutely had to. Whitson twisted his knee per Paul Jones. No word on severity. Okay, yeah, so we'll see what the deal is there. They need him because, man, he was making those game-wrecking plays, but it probably is not a coincidence that things got downhill really quick once he was not out there. Now, with the way the entire defensive line was getting whipped, I kind of think even if Whitson was out there, they're probably still getting run on a good bit in the second half. But you sure would rather have the guy out there than not. So I give the defense I don't know, if we're grading units, I'm going to grade the offense as like a C for this game, which is crazy for a win and considering the moments, but it was just so up and down. It's like the offense quite literally, you did just enough to get by. You got a C. C's get degrees. Defense, I'm going to give him a B plus. No, I'll say a B. I won't go B minus because again, I get it. The second half was really ugly, but they played so well in the first half to keep yourself in the game. You don't win this game if not for the Bulldog defense do what they did in the first half, ultimately. I think the mindset going into this year, and this is part of grading on a curve, there was a mentality going into the season that Mississippi State defensively was going to be better, but still that's going to be the offense is still going to have to lead the way. State's offense is going to have to be able to put up 30-plus points consistently to be able to win a football game. The fact against the 12th ranked team in the country, Mississippi State, if they had scored 21 points, would have come away as a winner. Like, you got to give the defense a ton of credit for that, even if you had an ugly half. So I can't give them an A because of the way the second half played out, but I'm going to give them a B. They played pretty well. And then special teams, a B plus. You made your field goals. Kickoffs weren't a problem, but you did. They had that one terrible punt, I guess. I don't know why I'm grading special teams. I'm just sort of running through here on the games. Yeah, I mean, you did just enough to get by and get a win.